विभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। Earlier mantra, 6th mantra, it was said, Yad bhuta yonim paripashyanti dhiraha. It is a bhuta yoni. Brahman is a bhuta yoni. Means cause of everything. The question may come, how can Brahman be cause of everything? Because what is caused is opposed to what causes them. We see the world of objects and beings constantly changing, and it is gross also. Earlier mantra it said, Yattadadreshyam agrahyam achakshus agotram avarnam. The world is comprehensible. You comprehend the world. Adreshyam, Brahman is agrahyam. You cannot comprehend it, neither through senses of perception nor senses of action, whereas the world is comprehensible by senses of action as well as senses of perception. Achakshu srotram aptadapani padam. The world is, when Brahman is free from chakshu srotra means senses of perception and senses of action, whereas you see the world, especially the beings, are endowed with senses of perception as well as senses of action. And it is susukshmam, nityam sarvagatam vibhum susukshmam. Vividhena bhati, it appears as many, which is not the case with the world. And susukshmam, it is the most subtlest, subtler than the subtlest, whereas we see the gross world. And vividhena bhati, it shines, it appears as many. How is it possible? Therefore, it explains the example, explains in this mantra, mantra number 7. Yathornanabhihi srujate grannate cha yatha prithvyam oshadaya sambhavanti yatha satah purushat keshalomani yatha aksharat sambhavati iha vishvam. As I mentioned yesterday, it's very unique vision of Ishvara, of Brahman, that Vedas or Upanishad has. It is revealed in this mantra. All of them talk about Ishvara as Nimitta Karanam, but none of them reveals Ishvara as Upadana. And being an Upadana Karanam alone, it is all pervasive. It is everywhere. Just as for any mathematic creation, Upadana Karanam is all pervasive with reference to what is created. And it gives 3 examples. Yatha Urnanabhihi srujate grannate cha. Urnanabhihi, spider. Srujate, creates. Grannate cha, it takes it back to itself. It withdraws the whole blessed thing to itself. Spider creates the web, and it, as though you can say, swallows the web also. I don't know whether you have had an experience. I have it when a spider is coming down and you just put a finger at the bottom and you touch it. It keeps on swallowing the thread and goes up. what came out of the spider was again swallowed by the spider. Similarly, Brahman brings out as though, creates as though the world and swallows back into itself. And it has another meaning also. To create the web, spider is abhinna nimitta upadana karanam. It is the intelligent cause as well as the material cause. The material to create is out of its own body, that 8 legs and a particular shape, not Spider-Man shape. Spider shape only, the man adjective. The man is an adjective of spider, but it should be, it's only spider. The shariram of the spider is upadana. And by itself, Mr. Spider is nimittakar. The intelligence is his. And that body produces the saliva. And out of that saliva, it produces the threads and it creates. As though that body, you can call it upadhi. Upadhi upahitatvena, being endowed with the upadhi, being endowed with the body of the spider, that Mr. Spider becomes upadana karanam. And by itself, in its own glory, by Mr. Spider is nimitta karanam. So also, because we'll explain a little further, little later this part, Brahman is upadana karanam because of its upadhi called Maya. So Maya upadhi drashtya, from the standpoint of the Maya upadhi, it is upadana. And actually, as I mentioned to you, the body is upadana karanam. The spider's body has a saliva, and that saliva brings out the threads, and that's how it creates a web. So body is upadana karanam. So Maya is upadana karanam, but since Maya, body belongs to the spider, Maya belongs to as though, I'll explain that word further. Belonging is also as though. That Brahman, that Maya is upadana karanam, but Brahman, from the standpoint of Maya, is also called as upadana karanam of the Jagat. Another thing. Spider creates the web on its own. It doesn't require any external help. Samsadhana rahita. It doesn't require any additional help or the means from somebody or some instrument. Neither instruments nor some other person to help another being. It creates by itself. And having created the web as though, again I have to say, sustains by itself. Of course, it has a support of those plants and the wall, but you can say as though. So also, Ishvara creates this world without any support. It doesn't require any help. No instruments required, not even the body required. At Mahimna Stotram, there is a shloka. Imi hakkinkaya kima khalu padanamiticha. What was the body? What is the body of Ishvara? What are the instruments that required? How did he create? Nothing. It creates by itself and it sustains by itself. The spider may require some support of the plants or a wall or something to hold that web. But Ishvara does not require any support to sustain or for the creation to grow as though it grows, unicellular and bicellular and multicellular and all kinds of aquatic and semi-aquatic and goes on. That growth also doesn't require any support. It can do by itself. Swami Dayanandji would tell this, Puja Swamiji. It is not like you. You can create a child, you can give birth to a baby, but you require a support to help to sustain the baby. You require a babysitter. Bhagavan does not require a babysitter for you so that you can go for to work. And in his typical style, he would say, so that he can spend some time with Lakshmi ji and go with Lakshmi ji. He doesn't require a babysitter. He creates by itself and sustains by itself on its own. Yathornanabihi srujate grannateva. And never ever, there was never a time that the web created by spider was away from spider. So also the creation was never ever away from Brahman and never ever is away from Brahman. Is Brahman. When I say creation, mind you, it includes time and space. That time is also never away from the Brahman. And you were never away from Brahman when created or non-created, So there is never is there a time when you are away from Brahman. And even when there is no time, you are not away. When a pralaya takes place, when the dissolution takes place, the time is dissolved into its seed, into cause. Even that time also you are not away from Brahman. And that is why it is Bhuta Yoni. Since it is the material cause, the original pratigna, original question, Kasminnu Bhagavo Vignate Sarvamidam Vignatam Bhavat. And then it was Pathapara Yayata Daksharam Adigamyate. Paravidya, what is by knowing, by through which you know Akshara. And what is Aksharam? Yattadadresham Agrahyam Agotram Chakshu Varnam Matadapani Padam, etc. etc. And then he says, Dhiraha Paripashyanti, Bhuta Yonim Paripashyanti. Yes, Sarvagna Sarvavit Yasmin, that all pratigna get fulfilled only when Brahman is the cause of the creation. Okay? That material cause and efficient cause is both the same. We never say that material was away from Ishvara. Some of these the theologies of the West don't even talk about the material cause. Some of our Indian philosophies talk about the material cause, but they claim that the material cause was separate from the intelligent cause. We don't agree to that. For a simple reason that there is no Shruti Pramanam and it is not logical. As I explained earlier, if Brahman created this world out of something material, who created that material? For Brahman to create this world. And if someone had created and given to Brahman, that Brahman, that someone who created a material and asked this Brahman to create, becomes the Brahman, the God, and not this. And then again the question still remains. That Brahman which created this material for this Brahman to create the world, how did that Brahman get the material? From where it created? You can complete the whole ABCD. It created out of A matter, then A came from B, B came from C. You end up in Z, then what? So it's quite logical also. Tarkata. This is called Shrutimatas Tarka. This is the logic in accordance with Shruti. That Shrutimata Tarka is the other. Each limiting other, that means there is no moksha possible. You continue to be limited. Anyway, and there is no Shruti Pramanam also. Shastra doesn't have any statement sort of approving this kind of thinking. Anyway, coming back to this Brahman Yathornanabhisrujate grannate va is the material. Now, the question comes, how come? What is the relationship between the material cause and that which is created? We have seen there can be two types of material cause, parinami upadana karana, the material which itself undergoes a change, sometimes intrinsic change to give rise to an effect, the karyam, that is called parinami. Our traditional example is curd, yogurt out of milk. Milk itself undergoes change. It loses its fluid nature, becomes gel type thing, and loses as though it loses the taste because of some external factor, certain bacteria. Those bacteria cause it to become milk or a curd, yogurt out of milk. That is parinami. Even in these examples, okay, clay and pot, the clay itself, in a way, from one standpoint of view, can say, undergoes a change. When you add water and needle it, it becomes jelly, and then you keep hitting, and it becomes solid. It loses its porosity to some extent, and it becomes thick wall type of thing, undergoes a change. Even the gold also, though we give the example that gold, but then the gold, the metal itself, which was originally brought out from the mine, it's directly not converted into ornament. And as they say, the 100% goldsmith can never ever make ornament out of 100% gold. He or she has need to add some other metal, generally copper, because it's the same color sort of nearby, to create an ornament. So there is some change. But here, the creation of Jagat, Brahman doesn't undergo any change. It is called Vivarta Upadana Karanam. Means there is no intrinsic change, no vikara, no parinama in creating the effect. Okay? And to explain this, further it will talk about later on, but then the teacher gives another example. Yatha pruthivyam oshadayah sambhavanti. Just as the plants and the trees come out, are born out of the earth, so also Jagat is born out of Brahman. The question here is Jagat, see, in case of the spider and the web, though spider happens to be both material and intelligent cause, but there is slight shade of difference between the example, the cause, Mr. Spider, and Brahman. In a way, no example can completely explain Brahman because it is Advitiya. But still, there is a limitation. What is created has an independent existence. And it is, spider may not be around, but that thing can survive. The existence of the web is independent of spider, though it is out of the spider. Then spider may move away from that side to another corner to build another web. But then it is not all the time connected to this, So, teacher gives another example. Yatha pruthivyam oshadayah sambhavanti. You see, spider creates the web which is separate from it. Similarly, does the Brahman create the world which is separate from it? No. Like the tree. The tree, can never be separate from the earth. Okay? Tree is not away from the earth, but tree is earth. Mother Earth, Prithvi, manifestation of earth in the form of leaves and the birds and the flowers and the fruits and the seeds and everything. It is only manifestation of earth. So the tree is not away from the earth, not different from the earth, but Mother Earth is different from the tree. Like B is A, B cannot be away from A. B means the beggar can never ever be away from A, the actor, but then A can be away from. So, yatha prathivyam oshadayaha sambhavanti. Third example is yatha satah purushat keshalomani. From a living being, the keshas, the hair that grow on your head is called kesha. The hair that grow on your body is called loma. And plural lomani. Yatha satah purusha. Someone may raise a question. As we saw yesterday, Brahman cannot be the cause of this creation because the effect is always true to the cause. And the effect cannot be opposite to the cause. As we said, Brahman is susukshmam. The effect, the world is sthulam. Brahman is avikari, non-changing. Whereas we see the world as constantly changing, always in a state of flux, always moving, always modifying, always perishing. How come Brahman be the cause? It can be intelligent cause. How can it be the material cause of this world? Therefore, the third example is given. Yatha satah purushat keshalomani. Tatha aksharat sambhavanti havishvam. From a living human being, there are hairs and the hairs on the head and on the body. We can add one thing. Shruti Shrais talks about the hairs only. You can say the nails also. Hairs are inert and therefore we can cut it. Therefore, we say, I go to saloon, hair cutting. Had they been sentient, you would say, I will go for hair surgery. And you require anesthesia also, for local anesthesia to cut the hair. They are inert. By the way, when you pluck the hair and there is a pain, then you may say, Swamiji, they are inert. How come there is a pain? They are connected to scalp, and that is sentient. And that there is a pain. The root is in the scalp, which is sentient. Out of the sentient human being's scalp, inert hair comes. Out of the sentient human being, inert nails come out. Therefore, with the nail cutter, you can remove your nails. So, it is not necessary. There is no rule. The nature of the cause must be inherent to effect. Effect can be not in a cause, can be. And I mean, there is the inherent, the effect can be of having opposite nature to the cause. And this is possible only when the cause is vivartakar, not parinamikar. In case of parinamikaranam, the attributes of the cause are inherent into the effect. Whereas If it is Vivarta Karanam, there is no rule that they are inherent to the thing, the inherent to the effect. And the reverse is also true. The attributes of effect need not be inherent in the cause. Look at the previous example. These two examples are in a way opposite. Cause is sentient, human being. Effect, the nail and the hairs on the body and the head are insentient. Whereas in case of previous example, yatha pruthivyam oshadaya sambhavanti, the plants are sentient. Mother Earth is inert. The effect is sentient. There is life in the tree. But the Mother Earth, it may be a stone sometimes. There may be some plants from in the desert, when it may be only the sand. But still, the cause is as though opposite to, the effect is opposite to cause, and the cause is opposite to effect. There is no rule. It is possible. This explains that it is Vivarta Kar. And here the Shankaracharya writes to have a clear understanding, Aneka drashtanta upadanam tu sukhartha prabodhanartham. The teacher gives many examples. 3 examples are given for easy understanding. And to make the things further clear, yesterday I gave this example of dream, which is dream creation is more appropriate example, where you can easily comprehend the abhinna, nimitta, vivarta, upadana, karanatvam. The status of the Brahman being non-dual, intelligent and material cause, not changing material cause, vivarta upada. It is our dream. And there is a Shankaracharya quotes also here in his Bhashya. Yoyam vignanamayah praneshu rudi antar jyotif purushaha swahi swapno bhutva imam lokam atikramati. Shankaracharya gives example. He said there is a Jyotir Brahmana. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there is a section called Jyoti. Jyoti means light. Light means that illumines, that reveals, because of which you know. Generally, external light, we call it light for the eyes. But for ears, what is the light? Ears illumine the words. Ears reveal the words for you, the sound. But the ears can reveal because there is a mind behind it. And mind can reveal because there is a buddhi behind it. And buddhi can reveal because there is consciousness behind it. And consciousness reveals because it can't but reveal. No? Na tatra suryo bhati, na chandra tarakam, nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agnihi. Second line. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam. It shines. Therefore, the word shine is used. Don't literally interpret the word shining like certain diamonds, shining diamonds, shining color, shining car. There is no shining. Shining is in terms of revealing. Revealing in terms of knowing, by which you know the things. That's the Jyoti Swarup. Since it says, Swamiji would say this example, a typical Indian jugaad, we call it jugaad, This fellow, she gave him a cup of tea, coffee, South Indian coffee. They give them in tumbler like this, steel tumbler. And it became cold. This fellow wanted it hot. See, if you put it in oven, he doesn't like Indian taste. I've seen people, they don't like khichdi prepared on gas plate. They want original charcoal khichdi, That's it. It's different. They, I guess, Urva Janma, this Janma they've inherited tongue of some animal, whereby they can differentiate the taste. So this fellow doesn't like oven. And if she straight away puts in a vessel and heats up, the taste changes. I don't know. And what they do, this is Indian jugaad. They will light up the fire, put the vessel on it, put the water in it, take a tumbler and put the tumbler in the water. So heated water heats up the surface of this tumbler, steel tumbler, and that heats up the coffee. So he will say this: the coffee is hot because the tumbler is hot. Tumbler is hot because the water is hot. The water is hot because the vessel is hot. The vessel is hot because the fire is hot. The fire is hot because fire is hot. Fire can't but be hot. I see because there is a mind behind. Mind sees because there is a buddhi behind. Buddhi behind sees because there is a consciousness behind. Consciousness lights up the buddhi because, and then it is lighted up because it itself lights. It is Gnapti Swarupa. It is of the nature of illumination. Illumination means revealing, knowing. Gnana Swarupam. So this Gnana Swarupam Atma. I. Atma means as of now, let us say I, individual, creates the dream world. And that dream, there are inert objects and there are sentient objects. And it is as though just opposite to what it is. Remember, just as Ishvara creates time and space, the Taittiriya Upanishad Vakya, Tasmadva etasmad atmanah akashas sambhutah akashad vayuhu vayo ragnihi. Our Shastra in those days were clear. Rishis, so many millennia ago, told us that space is not absolute. It is a creation. Time and space are relative. Carl Sagan's book, he says it is ever expanding universe. Space is always expanding. It's relative. It's not absolute time and space. It is created. How? Just as you create in your dream. How do I create space? I create space. I create time. And in time and space, I create so many objects and so many fellow living beings, including myself. There is a triputi: experiencer, experienced, and a very experienced. There is a sukha experience, dukha experience, painful experience, pleasant experience. Like that, varieties of experiences are there in the dream world. It is I only manifested all of it. I created the dream, and the dream objects are also created by me. Nothing external. In the dream, you had a light, electricity. You didn't put two wires from nostril and hang the bulb here to see the dream. There was a light to see. And you see just opposite inert objects. In fact, sometimes you see yourself just opposite to what you are. The fellow was dreaming. What did he dream? That he is in a desert of Middle East, Sahara. Let's say Sahara is better than Middle East. He is in a Sahara desert, and some wild animal is behind him, And he kept running and running and running, and he finally, there was a creek, and he jumped from the creek to save his life. Not to be devoured by this animal. He said, let me take a chance. He knew if I jump, I'll die, but there are chances. Like our Hindi film heroes, I will jump on the tree and save myself. Or I'll jump in the river and suddenly come out somewhere unconscious. And some heroine and her father will bring me out and do medication, I'll be saved. So he had a fantasy and jumped there. And then he jumped, Then he woke up. He had jumped from the bed to the floor. He was feeling so hungry and thirsty. And in a desert, that heat he was suffering. All was because previous night he had few morsels extra. The stomach was overstuffed. And because of overeating, he had a dream just opposite to what he was. He was in his air-conditioned room. Having woken up, he was surprised where I have fallen. He discovered that it is my bedroom, the same my room, my floor, and the AC is on. And I have enough water, and there is a water jug also with a cold water available. But then he saw himself to be thirsty, saw himself to be hungry, saw himself in a desert sun, saw himself running for the life, saw himself being chased by carnivorous animal. All this is possible in dream, created by me and out of myself. Please understand, out of word. This word, Bhagavan created the world out of himself. It is not out of. There is no adhara, substratum. Out of the tumbler I brought out the water. Out of the bottle I took out this. No, inside, outside, there is nothing inside. Out of himself is a figurative use. This is a limitation of language. To create the dream world, I am endowed with the necessary power. Like the spider, I don't need any support. I don't need any aid. I don't need any help from fellow human beings or some instrument. I can create by myself. I can sustain by myself. And I can as though dissolve it into myself. So also, Ishvara has the power to create this universe, this world, and the power to create is called as Maya. Shakti, Maya Shakti. By himself, out of himself, and then the whole world goes back to himself. That my power. Now understand, yesterday I explained and there was a question. They wanted a little further explanation. So I'm repeating. That power which I have to create the world makes me appear to be different than what actually I am. My stomach is full. I am not thirsty. I am in air-conditioned atmosphere and I am in my room. But I see myself hungry and thirsty and in the desert, and I am merrily sleeping, and I see myself as running over there. That appearance of mind in a different state as though is caused by my power, that creative power. Shakti, and I never ever undergo any intrinsic change. That power can be called as Maya. Maya means what? That which can create an appearance of something, eva, as though creation. Remember that my example. that magician's 5 rupee note. You know, I told my dad that I touched it. You may touched it. I saw it to be real. It looked like real. It is not. Because I have not undergone any intrinsic change. So also Ishvara or Brahman, without undergoing any intrinsic change, as though creates, and that creative power is always called Maya in Vyavahar also. When there is an apparent creation, the cause we call it as Maya. And in English, they have a word called magic. Magic means an appearance of something which is not true to what it is. And that is why we call it as a upadhi. I had explained to you yesterday that which creates a different appearance, that what it causes different appearance is called upadhi. Like a red flower is upadhi of the crystal, for the crystal to appear as red. So also Maya is upadhi. And Maya upadhi tattvena, because of that Maya upadhi, it is upadhanakar. And they try to make it too simplistic. These are the things to be understood. You cannot make formulas out of it. It is a too simplistic explanation they try to give. Brahman plus Maya is world. Brahman minus Maya is Nirguna Brahman. Brahman plus Maya is Saguna Brahman, and Saguna Brahman plus Maya is this world. This plus Maya is no plus. I plus my power is dream. Where is that plus one? It is as though plus. And since the cause itself is as though, eva, the karyam, the effect, my power is as though, the effect, the dream world is also as though. The as though cause is called Maya, and the nature of the as though creation is called Mithya. Please understand. There is no Vastu called Mithya. There is no Vastu called Maya. There is no object called Mithya. They don't understand this. Therefore they say, how can this world be Mithya? This is a solid world. This is a beautiful world. How can it be Mithya? I am not saying it is non-solid. By the word Mithya, I am not denying the fact it's a solid, real, perceptible world. By denying, by saying Mithya, I am not saying it is not there. I am accepting its existence. We are not denying it. Maya is an ontological word. What is ontology? Ontology is a branch of physics which talks about the reality of the particles. Mithya is a word which talks about the reality of the creation. It is not a word of referring to an object. We are talking about the reality of the object. When I say magical creation, that means I am talking about the reality of this particular creation. If at all there is a creation in magic. So also when I say Maya, they don't understand this. They say Vedantis call this world as Maya. We are not calling it Maya. World is world. We call it Maya as a reality of the world is Maya. Or Mithya, sorry. The reality is Mithya because it is caused by what is Maya? Maya, you can say the nearest explanation is that which creates an appearance of some creation, which in reality is not. And that apparent creation, when we talk about the reality of the apparent creation, we call it mithya. Like in a movie, on the screen, the whole movie, the whole story, all the incidents, I can call it as mithya. Mithya doesn't mean you don't see. When I say mithya, I mean it the reality of that thing, the movie. What is the reality? Hero crying. That is not really crying. Heroine becoming happy. That is not real happiness. Grief, there is no real grief. The death, there is no real death. The birth, there is no real birth. There is only an apparent birth, apparent death, apparent marriage, apparent love, apparent separation. This everything is anything that is apparent is called as mithya. Okay? Tatha aksharat sambhavanti vishwam. So there is no plus Maya. And where from the Mayas come, there is eva. It is not stuck to Brahman. It is not away from Brahman. And it is sometimes away, sometimes stuck. Nothing. Otherwise, Brahma will be stuck to Maya all the time, which is not the case. Like my power to create the dream, I am not stuck with that power. Some people are. So daytime also they keep dreaming. They live in a dream world. There is a hallucination. They have their own imagined world. But then I'm not talking of those exceptional people, normal person. The creative power to create the dream is not stuck with him. It is not one with me, nor it is separate from me, nor it is both. It cannot be with, without, and both, with and without. No, there cannot be. Because it's self-contradictory. One thing cannot be away, and one thing are separate, and one thing cannot be one with it. It cannot, and both. That's not there. So, this Maya is as though Maya, eva. Shastra add the word eva as though, and therefore there is as though creative power, and out of that as though creative power, there is a world created. It has to be as though created. And however, in this as though created world, there is some order. There are laws. Therefore, there is a Vyavara. There are physiological laws, biological law, botanical law, psychological, all order are there. But it is all the time as though. Because that Brahman is non-dual, and therefore Maya is as though. And since it is as though, Brahman is as though upadana karanam, Brahman is as though nimitta karanam of as though jagat. I am as though material cause for my dream world. I am as though intelligent cause for my dream world. For what? That the dream world which itself is as though. That is, as though means eva. And that Maya being an upadhi, So we say Maya Upadi Yukta Brahman. And they differentiate by calling it Ishvara. The Brahman endowed with Maya Upadhi becomes the Upadana Karanam. And that Ishvara is all pervasive because Upadana Karanam is all pervasive with reference to Karya. Since the Karya Karan Sambandha is as though, since the creation is as though, all pervasiveness is also as though. Eva. Vibhu Eva. Bhutayonim Eva. The world is sustained by itself. Satah Purushat Eshalomani Sambhavanti. Tatha Aksharat Sambhavati Iha Vishwam. From this Brahman, the Vishwam Sambhavati, the world is created. Please understand, again I am repeating, the word Mithya reveals your understanding about the reality of the world. We are not calling a Vastu as Mithya. We are calling the nature of the Vastu as Mithya. There is no really creation. And that when I say Mithya Jagat, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva na Paraha. That statement, Mithyatvam, is revealing your understanding about the world. Okay? And since both of them, Maya and the Jagat, Mithya Maya and Mithya Maya, Jagat is sustained by Brahman because isness belongs to Brahman and therefore Brahman is as though cause of the entire. Since it is as though, goes one step further. You can say there is no creation, there is no cause, there is no effect. It is only appearance. When I say creation, creation means that which was not there at a given time and comes into existence. That is a creation. But it is manifestation. The dream is not created. It is I who manifest as like this in the dream, being one non-dual one. There is a manifestation. And so also the Jagat, unmanifest Jagat becomes as though manifest. And again, unmanifest becoming manifest is called creation. And the manifest becoming, again it becoming unmanifest is called dissolution. Pralaya. So there is the whole cycle of unmanifest to manifest, manifest to unmanifest, but it is all as though. There is no real creation. Okay? So, subtle becoming gross, unmanifest becoming manifest, we call it creation. See, the tree, yatha pruthivyam oshadaya sambhavanti, that all was there in a potential form in the seed. All the leaves, all the birds, all the fruits, all the flowers, they were there very much in the seed, very seed itself. So though we call tree as a creation, it came out of the seed, but it is nothing but manifestation of all the potential that the seed has. It just becomes from subtle to gross, unmanifest to manifest, that is a creation. There is no real. And what is manifesting was there in unmanifest form. A non-existent thing cannot come into existence. And existent thing can never ever be reduced to non-existence. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sata. Whatever is now was there in unmanifest form. And whatever is now will be back to unmanifest form. So, avyaktad vyaktas sarvaha. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharat avyakta nidhananyeva tatraka paridevana. Unmanifest to manifest, manifest to unmanifest, unmanifest to manifest, manifest to unmanifest, unmanifest to manifest, manifest to unmanifest. It goes on. Therefore, we say the creation is cyclic. Whatever is alone can manifest. A non-existent thing cannot come into existence. An existent thing can never ever be reduced to non-existent. Look at, there is a contradiction. When I say world was there, if it was existent, where is the question of creation? And if it was non-existent, it cannot be created. So the only answer is it was existent in unmanifest form, in a subtle form. The gross expression, the gross manifestation is called creation. And again, from gross to subtle, from manifest to unmanifest, from form to formless, the entire tree was there in a formless state in a seed. All the fruits that you get, they were there in the tree in a subtle form. All the leaves and the birds and the flowers that you see on a tree were there in a potential, in an unmanifest form, seed form. So also the world was there in that which manifests. Which world? Which is non-separate from Brahman. We don't accept ultimately the existence of the world as separate from Brahman. That since we don't accept, therefore the question, why this is a standard question? When I ask, when I throw open the session for question and answer, Swamiji, I have a question. Why did Bhagavan created world? This question the fellow has because he is unhappy. That's all. When he is happy, he doesn't have a question. Why did he make me happy? The question when he says, why did he create the world means, why did he make me unhappy? And without any, for no fault of mine, that is inside the bracket, he thinks that I have not done anything wrong or I have not erred any which way. That's not. When you accept the creation, then why and where come? Creation is nothing but manifestation. Aksharat sambhavati. So though we use the word creation and dissolution, we mean manifestation to unmanifest, unmanifestation to manifest, manifest to unmanifest, unmanifest to manifest, manifest to unmanifest. Anyway, I hope I made the point clear. Someone had some confusions. Nipa sent me the question that they want repetition. So we'll see something more and conclude this slok mantra next Saturday. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.